Entering the Pat Mayo Experience.
Pat Mayo Experience. Pat Mayo Experience. Pat Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience Valspar Championship Picks, Research, and Guess the Odds presented by Underdog Fantasy. Additionally, I'm going to be live 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday night on the Mayo Media Network YouTube channel, and it's going to be the annual NCAA bracket pick show with Morency and Raza. That show is always a laugh, and you can watch it in live time about an hour after the bracket actually gets released on Selection Sunday, so please come and do that right now. But I'm jazzed for the Valspar. This has actually replaced Heritage as my single favorite event on the calendar. Non-major, because the Heritage became a signature event. The Heritage in Harbortown is not designed to be a signature event. I want to see 132 players. Any one of them can win because of the course setup, and just let carnage ensue with weirdo names on the leaderboard. I don't need to see the world's best play Harbortown. I'm glad they did it a few times, but every year, probably don't need that. But now we get Valspar. And Valspar is sneakily one of the longer courses on tour. It's only a par 71, but it has 5 par 3s. And they're really long par 3s. That takes away from the overall scorecard because it's not a par 72, it's a par 71. And one of the par 5s is unreachable into it. It is a legitimate 3-shot par 5. So it really does add up. So you see a lot of really strong tee to green players do really well at this tournament over the years. Obviously, Sam Burns has been a winner twice. Paul Casey won in consecutive years. We had Malnati out of nowhere last year, and it's a full field of 156 players. And I guess it's not just me. I'll get to this a little bit later on because we're introducing a new segment on the show this week. A little bit on that in a moment. You can always hit the time codes and jump around this show as well. But it's really a spot where the U.S. Open should play. If they grew this out to 4-inch rough, it would be impossible. It's pretty impossible as it is, unless you're Sam Burns the 2 years that he won at 17 under. But even as a par 71, -9 could win this week. -13, I'd take that right now and probably walk away with $1.9 million or whatever it is. But I think the players might actually like this too. Or there was a directive from the tour that they had to go play this tournament because this field is stacked. Initially, when it was released, it was 24 of the top 50 in the world golf rankings were in the field just outside of Tampa Bay at Innisbrook Resort, the Copperhead course for the Valspar Championship. Since that has happened, just before I actually started recording this, Daniel Berger withdrew. I guess he finished his round at the Players and said, you know what? Taking the week off. I'm doing well enough here at the Players. I'll be able to get myself through. There's some big names in the field. Xander is playing. JT is playing. Lowry, Tommy Fleetwood, Spieth, Zalatoris, Seb Straka. They're all playing along with the collection of regulars you just wouldn't normally see. Maybe you get 3 of those guys and then a field of absolute goobers, but even the second and third tier of players in this field are incredibly strong. It is the strongest Valspar field I have ever seen, and I think this course really does demand a good field, so it's really nice to see that coming. I spoke about a different segment on the show this week. It's been 16 years on the Pat Mayo Experience. Can't be afraid to try out new things. I actually play the Snake Pit on a simulator with my golf coach, Neil, who he's worked at Copperhead doing shot tracker. He's played the course a bunch of times. So it's a mix of us walking through the Snake Pit, trying to figure out the best ways to attack that hole. Obviously, I'm not playing from the tips. I'm playing from the normal white tees like I do. Neil's playing from the tips, so he will give you a guide to what players should be looking for off the tee to minimize the damage of one of the hardest 3-hole closing stretches of all of golf. At the same time, we talk about a bunch of different stuff. He gives me swing tips and lesson throughout the entire thing as well. So if you do want to catch up on golf stuff, it's a format that I'm really encouraged to try out just because Neil and I, whenever I go in for a lesson over the wintertime, we always have really good chats about golf. So he's helping me with my swing, different ways that you can attack some of your shots while we talk through the course at the same time. He even gives us a visualization of what's wrong with Victor Hovland's swing too. So let me know in the comment section, honestly, if it's a segment that you like. It's a bit long this week and we don't have the audio quite down. The audio is fine, but it's not as crisp as you're hearing me speak right now. And it's probably better to be watched on the video version of the show rather than just listening to the audio. Again, if you don't like it, just skip to the next section on the time codes and you'll be off to the the races trying to get the research for Valspar. But it's a segment that I want to include. I got to figure out the best way to implement it. So we cut it down a little bit this week. I think the segment itself is around like 40 minutes long. I'd probably like to get that to about 20 minutes long if we're going to do this semi-regularly. But I actually really enjoyed the chat I have with him. Neil's such a wealth of golf knowledge from the physical aspects of the game and trying to design course management, proper club selection, where to miss, and even talking through the snake pit. You can see why number 16 in particular becomes such a blow-up hole, even for the very best in the world. So I really hope you like this part of the segment. If you don't, smash a like anyway. Give me your early lean for a winner down in the comment section, and you get into that draw for $500. As long as you sub to Mayo Media Network on YouTube, leave that comment down in the comment section and smash the like. We're giving away the winner on Monday, Feinberg and myself, so you still got a few more opportunities to go get ballots into that draw. But before we get to the snake pit, I do want to tell you about the rest of the course. As mentioned, Copperhead is 7,352 yards playing as a par 71. Poitras Overseed is the green type, 74 bunkers scattered around the grounds, 9 holes with water in play. The average fairway width, 20 yards. Not a lot of greens being hit at Copperhead. The average green size just a shade under 6,000 square feet, which makes it slightly just right around average for the PGA Tour. There are 5 par 3s on the course. The average distance, 212 yards. 2 of the toughest holes are par 3s with an over par rate of 21%. Then you have the par 4s, the average distance of 440 yards. 2 of the 6 toughest par 4s are the ones coming home. They're a part of the snake pit, 16 and 18. Then you got the par 5s. There is, I said there was 3 of them earlier. There's actually 4 of them on the course because you got the par 5s. There's only 9 par 4s. More on that in a second in terms of how that actually shakes out. The 4 easiest holes are the par 5s, but hole number 15 can have some pretty wild swings when you take a look at the scorecard. It has a birdie rate of 31%, but it does have a bogey rate of 8% as well. It's number 5, the one I was talking about earlier. It is the hardest of the par 5, 605 yards. It's a 3-shot par 5 for the vast majority of players. It has an eagle rate of 0.3%, only a birdie rate of 21%. Has a bogey rate of 14.8% and a double rate of 1.5%. That's pretty unheard of for a par 5. So you really do need to watch yourself. There's no discernible streak either when you take a look at the scorecard when it comes to trying to figure out in terms of showdown the easiest way to go about it. Both sides are almost completely neutral. Once you factor in the severe doglegs, the tree-lined fairways, the bunkers, the water, and an average driving distance that's 12 yards shorter than the average course, you have one of the more difficult courses on tour. And driving accuracy and greens and regulation are both hit below the PGA Tour average as well. So really what you're looking for in a player is someone who's just great tee to green. The better you can be tee to green and pray they don't putt themselves out of the tournament, that's the sweet spot for this event. And outside of the par 5s, which I mentioned play more difficult than you would think, you have the snake pit. It's really where the big blow-ups happen, and we'll walk that through in a second. But just to give you some data, there is a 8.5% birdie rate for number 16, 24% bogey rate, 6% double or worse rate. That's not good. Don't ruin your entire tournament on number 16. Number 17's been playing a little bit easier. It's still a par 3 over water, with a very thin landing area, 215 yards. It's the 7th hardest hole on the course. Birdie rate of 9%, bogey rate of 18.2%. Then number 18. You can make birdie on number 18, or you can get stuck beside a tree and have to play out sideways like Adam Schenk when you have the lead on the 72nd hole. Also, when we get to the green, you'll see it was the Patrick Reed putt, as I like to call it, where when the pin is at the back right on Sunday, you can putt it up that hill, but if you do not hit it hard enough from the front of that green, it is just rolling back to your feet. 22% bogey rate, 2% double or worse rate. So do not victory lap your winner until they tap it in on 18. There's a potential for a multi-shot swing over the course of these final 3 holes. And if it wasn't tough enough, Copperhead actually has the second most 3 putts inside 5 feet of any course over the past 15 years, only behind Riviera. So it features the lowest birdie or better percentage of any course on tour, thus making it an awesome U.S. Open potential spot. But when you're thinking about attacking this from props, especially on Underdog this week, what you need to be thinking is lower on birdies or better, price dependent, obviously, as long as they're giving you a decent number, and just lowers across the board in terms of greens and regulation, fairways hit for players that would normally be in certain spots where you would try to figure it out. Additionally, versus the average course on the PGA Tour, par 3s par 4s from 400 to 450 yards still have approaches from 175 to 200 yards. They just end up being more impactful. That's because you get those longer par 5s where you're going to be hitting a lot of those shots, the longer par 3s and the longer par 4s. So that longer bucket with long irons is a bit more influential this week than you would normally find. Before we jump over and jump to the simulator, I do want to let you all know that the Pat Mayo Experience Major Season Best Ball Drafts on Underdog are now live. In fact, it got released 2 days ago and it's almost 20% full. I haven't even drafted a team in it yet. Hopefully it does not fill by next Saturday, because I will have the full strategy of what you should be doing in a full list. I'll email out to everyone on the free newsletter chain this Sunday in case you want to start jumping into drafts of players that are already in the majors. I'll try to develop more of a strategy by the time we get to next weekend, but honestly, just try to take as much volume as possible. But the best tip you can get for these best ball drafts is go to Underdog right now. Use code Mayo. You get a deposit bonus of up to $1,000. And with that bonus funds in your account, you can do your best ball drafts. And this is a rake-free tournament, $20K in the prize pool. You can do your drafts with those bonus funds, then have everything else left over in order to play your pick'em games, do more drafts, whatever it is you want to do. But this is a great time, especially if you are a first-time player, to get in on Underdog, use code Mayo, and just acquire as many bonus funds as possible. And you can parlay those together and play in the Pat Mayo Experience Major Season Best Ball Drafts. There's rest of the season drafts starting at the Masters, and there is other larger, but they do have rake, major season drafts as well. If you want to get in all of those, I'll be talking it through with, all the regular crew that I do and having a pretty dumbed down strategy because frankly, I felt like I had a very good grasp of what the strategy was going to be at the very beginning of the season for best ball. And I think so far that's paying massive dividends for anyone who followed the rankings and really took advantage of the one thing that you needed to do. It's volume over anything that really played itself out for advancing your teams forward into the second section. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen beyond this, but here we are. For the major season best ball drafts, if you can draft 10 guys that are in the Masters who are playing in all 4 of the majors, that's probably the way to go. Now, there's going to be guys that pop up that you may have to need that don't play until the U.S. Open or British Open, and you're going to need them because they're the highest scoring guy that week. Well, the teams that have those players on them, if they don't play in the Masters or PGA Championship, probably aren't going to advance to the point where you need them anyway. Just get as many live rounds in the chamber as you can fire for these best ball teams. My contest is only a 10 max, so you can only draft 10 teams. It's $25 a piece. So you spend your $250, you try to win. I believe the top prize, it's much like all the contests that I've ever run, be it for one and done or the old school DFS contest that I used to have. It's a very flat payout with $20,000 guaranteed in the prize pool. I believe it's like $3,000, $2,000, $15,000, $1,000, just to make sure that if you do finish near the very top, you're still going to get an awesome return on your money. So code Mayo at Underdog right now will get you that deposit bonus for up to $1,000. Right after the break, I'm going to be at the simulator playing the snake pick, getting some tips, and talking through the course with my main man, Neil Ryan. Welcome to TGL, presented by SoFi, golf's newest league. It's sharp, and it's electric. 2 hours of hammer dropping, overtime force, and playoffs on the line golf with 24 of the best players from the PGA Tour. The playoffs are here Monday, March 17th. 1 seed LA versus 4 seed New York at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2 and ESPN+. Then Tuesday, March 18th, 2 seed The Bay against 3 seed Atlanta at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN and ESPN+. Tune in to catch all TGL playoff action. Keep up. It's golf. Look, I know we got a lot of Mayo listeners out there, and that amongst us, hair thinning, very common. It's a very frustrating problem that many men deal with, from stress to nutrition to hormones and lifestyle. So many internal factors affect what you see on the outside. Luckily, Nutrafol is here to help. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people. See thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For me, it's all preventative. If I can take this now, hopefully I'm not going to have to deal with any thinning down the line. But if you want to build a hair growth routine, it's simple. Purchase online, no prescription required, automated deliveries, and free shipping to keep you on track. Plus, with a Nutrafol subscription, you can save up to 20%. You'll have access to free naturopathic doctor consults, and a Headspace meditation membership is also included. So, start your hair growth journey with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering my listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code PATMAYO. Find out why over 4,500 healthcare professionals and stylists recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code PATMAYO. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code PATMAYO. All right, as promised, I'm here with Neil Ryan, PGA of Canada professional, and my personal golf coach who has brought me down from a 20 to an 8. Although, when you see the scores up on the board, we had to speed run through the backside of Valspar to get to the snake pit. We're playing 16, 17, 18. You've played Copperhead, you've worked at Copperhead, and let the people know what actually goes on with Shot Tracker too, because you've done that.
Yeah, so lucky enough, when I was down in college, I was 21 years old. We got to go down and work it through the college I was playing with for the golf. So we went down there, got to work Shot Tracker and on the range. Shot Tracker was amazing because you got to be inside the ropes, which was super cool. So guys, of course, not everyone's as good on the PGA Tour that you think either. So guys are bombing it by us, landing it by our feet. We're perfectly like 290 yards off the tee, the worst possible spot on the par 5 11th number, or that number 11, the par 5 there. So, and then the lucky part too, when we were working there the mornings, we actually would show up, we'd work the range. But one of the best stories I have is we're sitting there eating our breakfast. One of the first guys on the range, and he takes a practice swing. Early in the morning, a little dark out, so we didn't hold it against him. Huge divot chunked up. Jonathan Bird, all of a sudden, a divot lands in my sandwich. I'm sitting there, we're just doing the ball, we're just getting ready for the day, and I've got a divot in my sandwich. So all of a sudden, we had a good laugh with Jonathan there, but I've also been lucky enough, last month, I played this golf course too.
Oh, so fill me in.
Yeah, huge undulation changes. TV doesn't do it justice because it's a little bit more, when you're watching the shots, like holes like maybe 12, 13, 14 are very flat. But standing on 110 on the top of the hill on that course, it's 50, 60 feet downhill. So it's challenging, especially when the wind gets up. But we do see that this course holds a huge, passion history of not having 20 to 25 under wind. It's often set anywhere between 9 under and 15 under, maybe, because the course.
Then you get Sam Burns who makes every putt and he wins at like 17 under.
Yeah, and that's it though. So for all in all, this is one of the toughest golf courses. And guys, we're going to take you through the last 3-hole stretch here at the Snake Pit, 16, 17, 18.
Tee up 18 or 16 for me. So I'm playing from the whites, you're playing from the actual pro tees. I can't handle the pro tees. Although if we were doing the practice beforehand, if I had just hit it like that during this,
true,
it wouldn't have been so bad.
But that wasn't on camera.
No, it wasn't. There was a few water balls and then a few to the left. It wasn't so bad. So overall, what are we looking at from this hole? I'll get you to describe it more when you step up to the tee and figure it out. I'm going to take my shot. You can critique my swing and fix what I'm doing. At the same time, maybe help a few people out as they see my goofy swing.
Yeah, so from the white tees here, we have this hole set at about 350 yards, which actually somewhat makes it slightly more difficult because there's more pond to deal with on the right side. So we're looking at hitting this anywhere on that line or left of it. There is some room in the left trees there, which a lot of people will choose to kind of like pull it down there on that left side or play it, because if you do hit it in that right pond, you're obligated to, your drop is only 30 yards in front of you. So that's why this is so fearful, is because you can't just beat it in the pond and go drop one up there and hit it on the green.
So what you're saying is I'm going to slice this ball.
No, we're going to pull hook it in the left woods. So why don't you jump in, set yourself up. And the idea, if we were standing on a tee like this, would be, for what Pat and I work on, we're working on keeping our torso a little bit back. And why? So we can release the hands a bit. And in this particular situation, if we wanted to hit one shot versus the other, we would love to see you release it more and flirt more with the left rough, then try to hold on to something through the impact area and try to hit the perfect fade that does visually appeal to the shot.
And like I told you, with the driver in my hands, I'm just hoping to hit it straight. I'm aiming to play it straight. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, let's see it. Yep. So good distance from the ball, like we said. A little taller stance. Nice. And then just focus on keeping that left ear behind the ball there.
Draw back for me, please. That'll work. Stay in the short grass. There we go.
Picks up right where we left off and just casually hits one. What was that? 261 yards down the middle. Wow, I'm happy with that.
So now that we're going to you, you're playing from the professional tees. So the holes are much more difficult. It's 418. Why is this hole so difficult for the pros, though, and starts to eat them up? Because it can be a birdie hole.
It can be a birdie hole if you're hitting your driver well. So
You're not even hitting driver.
I'm not even hitting driver. So you have to play to your strengths. So for someone who has, like, maybe someone like Wyndham Clark or someone like Xander Schauffele, who kind of has that really nice, like, bullet fade, like it goes through the air, it kind of penetrates through, and you can play the hole correctly. I'm a little bit more of a drawer of the ball. So if I'm trying to push or squeeze or try to, like, hold on to something, 80% of the time I'm probably going to flare it in the right pond. So I'm going to hit a stronger shot with something like a 3-iron that hopefully I can get closer to that 250, 240 area on the left side. But I'm a strong long iron player, so I can comfortably hit a 5-iron or 4-iron up on that green. If I'm not a comfortable long iron player, then I'm going to try to push it up there, which then you can see those big scores. So there's two ways to play it. You can play it kind of safer. Now, I've had some experience on this hole, and I hit it in the left woods, and then I hit in the right pond. So I'm trusting myself with this.
So they said at the Players this week at Sawgrass, if you're only locked into one type of shot, it's going to be difficult. It's like the Masters. You need to be able to move it both ways. How about Copperhead? Is it like a fader's course, a drawer's course, or is it a mix of both? Anyone can kind of succeed.
It's a mix of both, but the tee shots are really tough. They're tight. And then oftentimes you have to shape them into the greens. The green complexes are actually quite difficult. There's a lot of fall-offs and a lot of high and low areas. So what happens is if you're inaccurate with your we'll say our scoring clubs, you're just going to not be able to put the ball in the hole and make that many birdies. You're just going to see a lot of pars, which is traditionally why we don't see that low of a score here. You have to play to the right quadrant of the green, the right trident. You have to hit it close.
So scramblers? Like we've seen Spieth, Reed, Casey. I mean, Connors has played well here, but he plays well at these weird scrambling courses because his ball striking is so good.
Yeah, but you're allowed to miss the greens here. You're allowed to miss fairways at Copperhead. You're allowed to miss greens because if you put yourself on the right side of the hole,
it's an easy chip.
It's an easier chip. If you put yourself on the wrong side, this course all of a sudden becomes a par 78. Right away.
I mean, we're going to get to 18 in a second. I can't wait to leave. We have auto putts turned on, but if you pull the Patrick Reed and get it down the hill, put it up the hill, back down the hill to that Sunday pin. Let's see it.
All right. Let's see what I got in the bag to start. So I really like that because I'm moving it away from the pond. And if that just decides to bump into that left rough, I once again hit at my 250 number. So super pleased with that. That's playing the golf course.
And you still have a direct line to the hole.
Yeah, so that's playing the golf course in a smart way versus if I was aggressive or on the cut line maybe, trying to come in, then I might play that driver and be a little more aggressive.
So now you're out of the rough. You got 219 left on the second. Like, this is a tough second shot.
This is a tough second shot, but the idea is my goal here is to maybe play like a soft fade up against that wind, or if worst comes to worst, even pull it slightly. Because if I get this running through the middle of that green or even left, that pin location is actually pretty simple. It's right in the middle of the green.
So what are you hitting here?
So I'm hitting a 4-iron. Now, we've got in TrackMan, if you're a TrackMan guru, we've got 89 to 94%. So we're going to add a little bit onto that. So it's 219, but it's probably 230. But the idea is I'm going to hit this a little lower. So once it gets on the ground, it might go 200 in the air, but I'm going to try to get the next 30 yards out of it from the ground. So it's a little more of a safer shot than trying to hit that same club I just hit way up in the air, trying to land it soft. This is just a little bit more up my alley. And I hammered it and left the face open. But you know what? I'm okay with that.
I've seen you make it from the bunker enough that it'll be fine. So what do I got left here? I got 122. I'm not using my clubs, by the way. My PXG sticks have already been shipped off to Pinehurst, so I'm using Neil's blades. So bear with me here.
They're a little smaller than we see in the past.
Yeah.
So we probably don't want to hit a 6 here.
No, we probably don't need a 6-iron. We probably need like a 48.
Yeah, why don't you hit a little smooth wedge?
Smooth wedge?
Yeah, I like that. Because the pitching wedge isn't going to be exactly like your pitching wedge.
That's fair.
It's going to be a little bit more like a 50 or a 52 is going to be the look. Because if you look down too, it's a little thinner. So let's say that we don't hit this right off the center of the face, we still want it to get to the hole. The last thing I'd want to see you do is try to rip a 50-degree wedge or 52, and then actually hit it pretty good, land on, spin it off, not get it to the green. Because when you're looking at this, that left side, even pin high, is excellent.
So the miss would be left of the pin here.
Yeah.
So like try to hit somewhat of a draw.
Same very similar feel to the one you just hit off the tee, not specifically not trying to hit it right, but you're protecting slightly against it by envisioning that draw kind of pattern.
Okay, we'll see how this goes.
Let's see it. All right, let's get that nice smooth tempo.
Didn't practice any wedges.
No, we didn't need to though.
Yeah, you say that. So should this be another one where I'm like taller up like we've been practicing?
Yeah, a little taller with the legs to make sure you're not trying to dive down with the knees and give it some extra. You want to feel like you clip that thing right off the turf.
Kept it out left. All right, nice birdie opportunity.
All right, so
these clubs go
waxed right now.
These clubs go so much shorter than my clubs.
Oh, I know. Well,
Why is that?
Well, it's compression. So a lot of
you have professional clubs.
Well, that's actually a good way to think about it. So if you actually are someone who looks in, you have like kind of like a dot or like a screw on the top, right? Usually there's going to be a little bit of backing. That is actually kind of usually infused with some foam, like a little bit of some compression there. We call those player improvement clubs. So they actually have a little bit more bounce off the face. But for professionals, if we use those, we call them flyers. We catch really hot balls. Where my 7-iron all of a sudden, because it hits the sweet spot perfectly, it goes 10 extra yards. And if I'm flying the random 7-iron 10 extra yards, it's going to have some serious implications. So that's why traditionally pros would actually use a smaller club.
So like I've switched. I had the Mavericks for the past 3 years when we were working together. I got hooked up with the PXG clubs now that are a bit thinner, but still do have that backing.
Yeah, exactly. They're not super thick. They're the middle ones, which are great. Exactly.
So like good for like 5 to 15 handicaps?
Nailed it. Yeah. So if you're above like a 15 handicap or you struggle with genuine consistency, you're going to be looking at getting something like a little bit thicker. But if you actually can strike it off the side of the face, you actually find like you can hit it fairly far. That's a big one. Speed. You don't need that improvement. Because that's what I call those hot flyers, those shooters. You all of a sudden hit a beautiful one, which we did in the past with you last year, and a 5-iron would go 240 yards. You're like, I'm not trying to hit it that far.
Well, my game got so like, but before you came out on the course with me and helped me through like mid-season, I was playing awesome. Then I just hit this wall, and all I could do was hit duck hooks, and I couldn't hit any sort of long iron. So I'd be like 210 out, and I just jack a 7-iron and the ball back in my stance, and like basically try to hook it as much, and just hit these like rope flyers that were big hooks that would hit like at 190 and roll out another 220.
Yeah.
Like those were all my approaches to par 5s.
Oh man, it's so true, but now you got the clubs and the PXG ones, and they fit you so much better. Let's kind of flip this thing out here. This is a pretty traditional bunker shot that I'd like to see, but very simple. Should just kind of land and roll.
Yeah,
not bad.
You make it look easy. So that's the 16th hole. Out of the 3 snake pit holes, do you think this one's the hardest, the middle, or the easiest?
They say this one's the hardest because it is the most frequently triple bogey, double bogey.
Because of the water.
Because of the water.
And I guess the miss left too much, too. You're blocked off.
Yeah, the mist left. But honestly, this one from the pro tees, which we're going to see come in right here, guys, the par 3 17th, it's like 208 yards. There's always a fan, but there's a mouth to the green. So what we call that is it's a very small little area on the front of the green. So if the pin's there, this looks like there's no green on the golf course. Like you're standing back here and there's no green there. If you do see it on the back part of the green, it is a little bit wider. So traditionally on this hole, a pin like we have here is actually much easier because you don't have to hit a 200-yard shot in this like 6-foot area.
So when you're standing here, you're 208 from the tees, you're up first here. What are you hitting? What are you trying to do with the shot?
I'm probably going to be playing a very similar one to the one I actually just hit there. Hopefully not leave it a little bit right in that bunker because in this situation, I'd be trying to...
A bit short-sighted?
A bit short-sighted. The right bunker is not a bad place to leave it in this pin location, but I'd be trying to probably play like my fairly straight little draw If I leave it a little bit right, I'm fine with that. The goal here would be for me to not overcook it in the left 2 bunkers there, because on this pin location, left looks like it's a little bit more short-sided than right.
So we figured out how to play the hole. You should probably let people know how big you are, because you just hit a 3-iron 250 yards.
Yeah.
And like you weigh less than I do. We're right around the same height. You're essentially the same metric. Like I like to call myself Fat Rory. I'm like the exact same size as Rory. I have the power of Rory, but I'm about 10 pounds heavier because I got the old wine at night on the go. But you're right around Justin Thomas's size.
Yeah, so very similar. He's like 5'10", 5'9", just like me. 6 feet on Tinder, just of course. But the idea is that their leverage has to be kind of produced in a different way. So like we see a lot of guys who are taller, big guys, they can kind of just move it around themselves, almost like a guy like Eric Van Rooyen, who's just beautifully smooth, tall dude.
Jake Knapp.
He just kind of picks it up and turns, and there's speed there. For guys who are smaller like me, we have to pick it up in a little bit of a different way. So keeping my arms like very wide is key, because this gives me separation, kind of like Min Woo's theory. When he really gets wide, he has a lot more speed for such a scrawny dude, right? So that idea is that width allows me to create a little bit of that fluidity, that lag, which pumps it a little bit more. If I feel like I kind of just like turn and hold it, I don't hit it as good. I have to really fully follow through, attack the ball, and being a little bit smaller, such as yourself, you have to complete the swing. There's less times when you're gonna feel like you're just gonna be able to just like punch it out there. I've gotta really try to feel like I make this nice high fluid swing, and that's when I find I play the best. Because it's like the momentum keeps going through the ball, and I'm not stopping, trying to like cut it, hit it. I'm not trying to like focus on impact. I'm really just taking myself through to the top of the swing. So let's see what I can do here.
You got a 4-iron?
I have a 4-iron. It would probably be a perfect 5-iron if I was warmed up on this hole, but since it's only our second one of the day, I'm gonna try to just kind of float a very structured, very straight 4-iron in there.
That looks pretty good.
Now it's gotta get a little right.
I think that'll do. You're pin high?
Nice.
Yeah. That looks good.
We take those. We take those.
So now you're going to see me hit 8 shots here on this par 3. Fortunately, I'm playing it from a little bit closer. I think I'm like 175 for mine.
169. All right. What do you got? 6 or 7?
I got a 6-iron in my hand.
Do you think after the last few you hit, might want to hit a 7?
I kind of do, but I know,
you know what? Caddy vibe. You know what? Let me just take it out of your hands.
I'm coming up so short. Like it's funny because like trying to translate to your clubs, like when I was just hitting them beforehand, it's like 10 to 15 yards less than mine. Like this is a hard 8 for me.
Yes.
With my clubs. Mm-hmm. Or like not even a soft 7, just like a very smooth 7.
Yeah.
Like this needs to be a hard 7 for me.
The key is the center of the face. So when you have those smaller clubs,
you know I don't do that. I hit it off the toe every single time.
Let's put our mental focus to the center of the face. Let's see it. Little wind actually helping that left to that right to left shot. You've been really focusing on that little tight draw. So
yeah, and I mean, you can tell people you have the videos of it. We'll do that one day about how I was hitting it when I first came to you.
Yeah.
Slice.
There was a lot of right. And then we fixed it a bit, but then it
was
started
all left.
Right, and then it went left. But the evolution of getting better at the game, because we just see him knock 2 down the snake pit on 16 to about 20 feet. So, yeah, nice tall legs. Same thing, focus on clipping it off the ground.
Nah, it's going right after just talking about going left. Get over it! Man, it was the right club.
It was a great club. I like that. You just kind of left it out, which we see sometimes. But how do you feel about the bunker?
Not great. I mean, well, you know what? It depends. I'm not a bad bunker player as long as I can take, like, basically address the ball. I guess I should put it in the hitting area.
Yeah, that'll help.
Like, do I have, like, on a simulator, it's a bit different.
It is, but on a simulator, treat it the same. So if you had more green to work with, let's say you had like
I need to get this, I don't mind getting this past the hole. I would like to theoretically land it on the fringe and let it roll down. I don't have that shot.
Exactly. So let's feel like you splash it a little bit further and maybe a slight bit to the right because of the slope, but you do have the right idea with the setup there.
So
we want to keep the shaft fairly neutral, but you would want to leave the face slightly open, and that's going to give you that.
I go way open with my bunker shots.
And that's okay too, but in the simulator, I'd like to see a bit halfway. Yeah.
So like that.
Exactly. Very nice.
So I usually dig myself in, but I'm going to choke up a little bit to make up for that.
Dig yourself in the mat.
Dig myself in. But I usually put it really towards the front of my stance and lean forward.
Yeah, so lean forward a bit. Try not to be too far on the front. That's fine. That's inside your left heel. We wouldn't want to get it too far out, but that's nice there. Keep that nice kind of weight forward and just splash this thing about 20 yards.
So I usually try, when I dig myself in, I can't remember if it was you who told me or not, or if I watched like a YouTube video on it, was basically when you dig yourself in and you end up like a half inch below the ball or an inch below the ball anyway, you don't have to try to like splash the sand, just swing at the ball.
You're already
and because you're down, you will splash the sand anyway.
Nailed it. Because you're already in it, you're going to get down.
But this one, I'll need to
just kind of feel the same thing, kind of feel like you're picking across it a bit. Yeah, you're just not maybe hitting as steep down into the sand.
So more of a wide swing.
More of a wider swing, yeah, a little Jason Day-like.
Oh, no.
Try that one again. Well, we can.
Yeah, we can try it again.
Because I want you to see.
And that's probably going to be my best one.
No, but I like this. I want you to try it again. So I'm going to aim you a little bit right.
Aim me a bit right, so because now that we didn't really account for
exactly.
So in a simulator, I still just hit this straight, right? It's just going to go that way. I don't have to actually swing right.
You don't have to swing too far right. I aimed you a little right.
Yeah.
So we're just going to feel like you're going to have a little bit of speed to this thing, and you're going to just fly it out just over that bunker face. Let's picture in our mind about 20 yards.
20 yards? I guess, yeah, 20 yards, it's a lot bigger than I thought.
Beautiful. Look at this thing. Dripped it right down there.
There we go.
Nice.
Make it easy on myself.
Stuff,
so
man.
they will putt that out. Obviously, you mentioned before that you want to be on like the right quadrant of the green.
Yeah.
And this one's dead in the middle. Is that even a quadrant?
Well, that's honestly...
Nice shot to 13 feet, by
Thanks,
the way.
man. I appreciate that. Give me some knocks. Yeah. So the idea, though, is that this one, that's why I said it's a more favorable pin. You can hit it short, you can hit it long. There's a little more area. If that is like 10 paces back in that left corner, there's a little slope there. So if you don't get it in the left corner, you're funneling down 30 feet right at the green. Or on the green, but to the right. So it's like, unless your accuracy is so perfect, you just have a 35-footer up a slope. How often are someone going to make those? Not as frequently.
But you're going to two-putt.
Yeah, so that's why it's just so many pars. That's why when you're looking at betting this place, especially, you can bet a lot of guys to not make those birdies or better. Because like some guys are just going to get disastrous. If
and you have the 5 par 3s.
Yes, and because the par 3s are the hardest. Number 14, the par 5 around the corner is a double dog leg, 600 yards. Like when I was there, I didn't quite realize how big the course was. That's a good way to put it. I was playing it, but I was all of a sudden, it was just like 460 yard par 4. 480 yard par 4, 590 yard par 5. So they're big golf holes. So unless you're striking it unbelievable and putting well, you're going to par 16 holes around if you're playing well. Because, I mean, when's the last time it'd be good to see, when's the last time someone shot something extremely deep at?
I remember I had Jim Herman, first round leader here one time, and I think he went at like 63 to kick it off. Like he just made was hitting everything close with like a 4-iron in his hand.
I'd be curious to see if that was the course record.
I don't know if it was or not. I mean, this is the course where Keegan went full Keegan.
Yeah.
He was first round leader, then missed the cut.
Full Keegan.
That's the full Keegan mode. So we're on 18 now, the closing hole. It's 443 yards. I assume you're hitting driver here. It does look like standing on these pro tees, like even on a simulator, like, oh my God, I'm going to hit it into the trees.
Yeah, the idea is I always envision, and this is a good visual for you guys at home, is especially when I'm talking to football guys, and because you're dive into football too, is picture uprights. So it's like when you have like a set of uprights there, the idea is if I get it started in between that,
It's fine.
it's fine. If it goes a little right, it might go in the right bunkers, like the kind of the church pew ones there. If it goes left, those bunkers are better because the ones on the right that are horizontal are actually very difficult.
They're like pew bunkers. They're
Exactly.
difficult because you might draw the bad lie.
Yeah.
But you would have a better angle into this green.
Correct, right? But the left bunkers, if I was to funnel into one of those, I'm more likely going to go down in the base, which would make it easier because there's no lip in front of me. But the idea for this one is if I'm standing on this tee, this thing is going to be tried to be hit well and straight. So if it goes to the left, goes to the right, but I am not trying to carve something into this golf hole. It is too narrow, so the fairway is too slim. So if there's only about 20 to 25 yards wide, if I'm adding curvature, I'm lessening that by roughly 50%, which is what people don't know at home. If my ball is coming right to left in that fairway, there's less room for the fairway. If it's a wider fairway, like such as Cabot Links, if you ever go play there, you can carve it.
You just hit it wherever.
And it just stays in the fairway. So you have to play to what's in front of you. That's the main key.
I mean, Cust is someone who I have found that even at Cabot Links, he has a tendency to not necessarily hit the fairway, he hits the ocean. Because that's a miss there on some of those holes.
I've hit it in the ocean many times at Cabot. I'm very lucky to play there quite a bit. But that is because you don't, like, I play much better golf on tighter golf courses because my mental game restricts me from adding extra speed, trying to carve one like irony around the corner. It's like, no, it is, we have to hit it straight.
So when you think about some of the winners that have been here, so we had
Peter Malnati last year.
Well, Malnati feels like a real outlier.
Very, very good outlier, but also really cool story. Probably one of the more emotional ones, like with his victory and stuff, like going through hardship. So it's like, I love to see that win.
So Michael Kim at the Valspar?
Yeah. Michael Kim at the Valspar.
I don't think he's played 6 weeks in a row. I don't think he's gonna play again. This is his first, he was gonna take off API week, but then he plays himself into API. So you kind of have to play the elevated event for $4 million. This is probably a week he takes off. I'll text him to see if that's the case or not, because we don't have the full field out as the time that we're recording this. But think about some of these more, like Casey won this back-to-back.
Yep.
Burns won this back-to-back. Spieth won here. He beat Reed and Sean O'Hare in a playoff. Chuck Schwartzel won here. Corey Connors has played well.
Which is, what do you see about all those golfers is the nail. One of them is they're all amazing. One, ball strikers. But what you just said to me, those guys are on the tee. Those guys are some of the best tee ball players. When they're hot.
Spieth is...
Well, but when he's hot. Well, Spieth won when I was there.
Yeah, Spieth won in like 2016 or something.
So when I was working there, Spieth won there, but that was different Spieth. That was prior to this Spieth here. He had that nice separation, which if you ever watch this, if you go back to that just a little bit, you'll probably start.
Go give the Victor tip.
Oh yeah, the Victor tip. Yeah, Victor Hovland is struggling right now, but the idea is his swing is a little different. He picks it up inside, and it's kind of across the line, so then he has to reroute it. So if someone who reroutes the swing, such as Matt Wolff, struggle with consistency. When they're on, they're on. That guy shot 61 his first year he was out. Now he's not shooting 61 is a good way to put it. But the idea is when you have excessive movement certain ways, whether it's this way or this way, what happens is your rotation becomes extremely important. If you start rotating incorrectly, forcing it, trying to do it, that cut can turn into pulls. And what Victor's tried to do is he's actually tried to almost neutralize his pattern a bit, but then what happens is his stock cut has left. So now he might miss left and right.
So this happened to Morikawa like 2 years ago.
It did.
When he started trying to play a draw instead of just playing the nasty cut that he has every single time. Now he's got that back.
And he's playing better.
So what you're saying, like 6 months from now, Victor's just going to be like, I'm just going to go back to how I used to hit it.
He already got his coach back. He already is trying to do that, to figure it out. And then Victor will come back as Victor someday. But right now, it's like he was the best player in the world a year ago. He was so amazing. Even a year and a half ago with the whole playoffs, incredible. But when you watch someone maybe more who has like a Sepp Straka, that guy is going, Sepp Straka and Ludwig Aubert, their plane of their swing doesn't change. So the odds of them having extreme off weeks are limited compared to someone like Victor, which is why that when it comes to a little bit of that like betting side or who your favorites are, I take that into a huge account on tight golf courses. So you want to know who those guys are.
Hence why you see someone like Corey Connors play well at Copperhead.
Nailed it. Yeah, and Adam Hadwin.
Yeah.
Ball striker, little drawer of the ball, right?
Yeah, but not too far, like not too much movement.
Exactly.
Like Stracco should dominate here if he plays. I don't think he's going to play.
I would love to see Seth play here because I think he would be one of the best.
Yeah,
But
the weird outlier to all of this is Bubba has a really good track record at Copperhead.
Bubba was a little bit before it though. They did a few little changes for that reason, like all the bunkering and stuff like that. It was slightly more, even when I was there, you could miss it a little bit. Now they've tightened it up a little bit in some like rough. They made the rough a little longer.
They don't do this in Florida, but could you move the tees back a little bit? Like, is there room to move them back even more at this course?
Not much from where I'm playing. It's about 7,500 yards, but there are a couple tees that you might like. There's some land that they could probably like push a couple tees back.
Because this is one of the longest courses on tour adjusted for par. You see par 71, 7,300 yards. Like, short course. Like, no, not a short course. If you grew the rough out to 4 inches, could you play a U.S. Open here?
Oh, I believe so. If you had the greens running at like 12, which is they're usually at 11, if you got them a little faster, which would be a little tougher, and grew the rough out, this would be a beautiful U.S. Open course because it's one, you see normal rounds or normal tournaments end up, like I said, between 10 and 15 under. It's like you're going to cut that in half, which 6-7 under would be a great U.S. Open champion score, right?
Yeah.
You don't necessarily want it to be something too difficult.
And you'd make it a par 70, so you'd turn one of the par 5s into a par 4 at the same time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, you're saving yourself 4 strokes there already. So, okay, let's see it.
All right. Let's see how this goes. All we're focusing on is tempo, balance, and the strike on the face. So I missed the strike on the face off the heel, which added that little cut. But you know what?
Bit short of it's okay?
I'm okay with that. Nothing wrong with that. There's a lot wrong with that. I just don't want to tell you guys.
So it's a bit easier when you're playing from the whites in terms of, I mean, we'll see how I do here.
Yeah, what do we got? 382. You know what, though?
When is so let's say how do you know when to graduate from tees? Because I've always been a white tees player, and I've gone down, like I said, from like a 20, 22 to an 8 over the past 3 years. But it's not like I'm shooting even par off the whites.
Yeah.
I shot a 77 last year. I shot some 97s last year. Like it happens.
The idea behind that is it's the challenge. So for you, especially at the course that you play as your home course, there's a difference. There's like quite a bit difference. It's like it goes from like 61, 6200
and that's
yards
why I don't make
to
the
like
leap.
68, 69. So there's too much almost in there where it's like a hybrid tee would be good. But the idea, what you want to do is as you start to graduate, if you go through a period of time when you start to shoot like, let's say this year you rhyme off like 4 rounds in a row in the high 70s, that might be a time to test yourself to see, because you're hitting it well. You don't want to graduate or test yourself going backwards if you're not hitting it well, because then you're going to start to spin and you're going to be like, oh, well, that wasn't worth anything. I didn't have any fun. But also you're going to like expose yourself. So you have to be trending in the right area, which you're doing over the last few years. And then this year, my job with you would be to take you out and play some more difficult golf courses so you can see a little bit about like how I approach it. Because it's a different game. You have to attack off the tee. You have to try to start to carve it a little bit. You have to play a little bit more aggressive rather than just fairway up by the green. So the idea is when you're starting to improve and playing better, there's a time whether you talk to your coach or you just have it in your head. If you're trending, test yourself. If you're not trending and you're actually moving backwards, go forward. Go up to the red tees and shoot a 65 and go, all right, I was 7 under today. That's great, because at least you were like a Bryson DeChambeau does it off the red tees and just break 50. You feel a lot better about yourself than shooting 97 off the back tees.
So we'll try to not overcut this one into that left bunker.
Yeah, you know what? I love what we did on the number 16. If you could just harness
you think I can do that? Like that's what I was trying to do? I was trying to hit it straight.
5-yard draw down the middle.
5-yard draw, smoke down the middle. I choke up on my driver. That's fine, right?
Yep. Choke it up just adds a little bit of
like
stability.
about an inch.
Yeah, it's fine.
You doing online lessons yet?
I am. I do online lessons. I can actually just do them. I do them through contact, where guys reach out to me depending on what your service is. Some guys want like a blueprint, where they want a nice a video for 10 minutes on something that they need to work at. And some people want something a little more consistent. And depending on what they're doing, is we just pop online, or I stand in front of the camera and I describe to them kind of what they're moving forward and what they're trying to do, and then we just go from there.
I lost it right.
Nice ball though, but don't go in the church pew bunker.
Go in between it.
No.
Oh no.
Well, we get to challenge ourselves now. What do we got in? 184 for me.
184 for you. So that's what, a big, just a normal 7-iron. I guess out of the rough, a little bit different.
Yeah, out of the rough and up 28 feet. I'm going to take a 6-iron, and I'm probably going to hit this fairly hard.
And the pin's at the back,
yes.
So you do need to get it over that bunker.
Yeah, so the bunker carry, from what it looks like from here, would be about like 165. So as long as I hit something hard enough in the TrackMan especially, and it lands over that, it's going to run. But this is a nice club for me where it's like into the wind, up the hill, 184. This would be a really, really flushed 7-iron. So I can just take a little bit more of a 6-iron and focus on the accuracy a bit more, especially on the 18th hole. I'm not trying to hit this within maybe 10 feet. I'm trying to play this to the middle of the green. If I hit it hard enough and it runs back, perfect. And if it doesn't, I'm just putting up the hill.
You know what I forgot on my drive? Keeping my ear behind the ball.
Yeah. And you know what? That actually would have explained the slight push out to the right. Let's see what we got here. Maybe just a slightly modified follow through, just to keep that structure going through the ball. And I kind of did the correct motion, but when you shut the face down like 5 degrees, it'll go left.
So with me, what do I got left here?
It looks like
152.
You have 152 yards.
So how bad is this going to be? Well, it says power. Do I hit an 8-iron?
Hit an 8-iron.
It's recommending 8-iron. Just hit an 8-iron. See how this goes?
I think you just hit the 8 and see how it goes. Because I don't know if the 7 would give you enough loft to get over.
And I assume this lip is actually in front of me.
Yeah, it is. So if you do like thin this thing, it's going to hit it and just pop straight up.
So question for you, because I have a significant amount of trouble out of fairway bunkers, like really bad.
Yep.
It might be better now that I'm hitting the ball a lot cleaner. Mm-hmm. But before, what I was doing, like last year, like the only saving grace I had, and I would just hit bullets out of it. So I was never really good at getting the ball up out of it, is that I would just basically keep the ball at the back of my stance, lean a little bit forward, and just try to come down on it to ensure, like get as steep as possible to make sure that I hit all balls.
Yeah, and that's what you would have had to do before, prior to get steep, was had to move it back. So now, take the same approach, but move it more neutral or forward.
But do I want to come down as steep?
Yeah, but you don't have to have it in the back of your stance, which would keep it low. You can actually, because you're descending better, because you're more confident
I'm more
with
upright.
it. Yeah, exactly.
Because before I was like this.
Yeah, your knees are bent and you're down, so you're almost trying to get too low, so you had to move the ball back to catch it first. Otherwise, you're just going to chunk them, right?
Yeah.
So now it's like, let's place it more forward and stand a little bit taller there, but your idea is still, is kind of like to descend downwards into the mat just slightly.
And I don't need to do that on the sim, I'm guessing.
A little bit on this one in particular, because that bunker faces right in your way.
Yeah.
A little bit on this.
But what you, one of the things that you've been help solving like over this winter is like I have a bad, I pop up out of everything.
Well, a lot of people, when they pop up.
And I can't stop it, but getting up higher I'm still popping up, but it's not.
Yeah.
And I'm not topping it or chunking it as
when
much
your knees
anymore.
when your knees are moving down in the downswing, to get the ball to hit it anywhere roughly before you hit the ground, you have to then extend upwards. So then you're adding like an element of like vertical movement, which is incorrect. Because now it's just more difficult to stay consistent.
I don't know if people can see this, but the face of your 8-iron is just in the middle, worn out. Look at that.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I like to say that I practice quite a bit.
Yeah, not a problem with my clubs. They are brand new, but it's never going to be a problem with my clubs.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what we can do here.
Yeah, after a season, you have to get new clubs because the middle of the face is worn out. I'm just kidding.
Listen, PXG will send me another set. Don't worry. They're sponsoring the show again in like 3 weeks.
All right, let's see it. Confident swing. Nice legs, nice and high. Wow.
Now I left the face open
Yeah, but
again.
that's okay because that's kind of what I would want you to do because now you're in the mouth of the green. That's actually beautiful. Even though you weren't trying to necessarily do that, that is a perfect leave into this green. Because also, we didn't really think that you were going to get that there anyways.
Yeah.
It was to get it out and up. The issue there, what the mistake is to hit a 7-iron or 6-iron and then leave it in the bunker. And it's like, even though you didn't get this to the green, you have 29 yards up, and you can see where the shelf is. On the redness here, you can see what I'm talking about with like the...
And this is usually the Sunday pin. The Sunday pin is a bit more, I think, like right here.
Yeah, which you can see this fall off.
Yeah.
You can see everything. So
And if you putt from here, it will come back down if you don't hit it hard enough.
Nailed it.
So I do need to give this a little bit more juice to get it up that hill, right?
Because your goal necessarily isn't trying to get it as close to the pin as possible. If I could draw a circle about 20 feet around the flag...
You got me a 60? You got a 56 in there? I chip with a 56.
You can chip with whatever you like.
The 60 is just too terrifying in my hands. I have one, and I would just look at it. I was like, every time I hit this, it is a horrible shot.
Yeah.
I remember you were trying to.
It's a comfort thing.
You were trying to teach me a few years ago, just like when I had the 60 before I snapped it over my knee after getting too mad. I had to go buy another one. But just like to jack it back in your stance. Like I hit one or two that were just, it was like 71 yards, high as can be, stop right next to the hole. It's like, well, this is just a shot I got now. And then it's blade 120 over the green or chunk 2 feet in front of me.
Yeah, you think you have it, and then all of a sudden it's gone.
So what's the...
So little bit like weight forward, a little bit back in the stance, and your main
feet,
goal,
shoulder?
Yep, very simple, very shoulder width apart, and hands slightly leaning towards the hole. So you want to have a little forward press on this, and that'll keep it slightly lower and get it there. So 29 yards, 30-yard shot. There it is. So you see how the lowness of that skipped it up? That's a professional type shot. We would never want to go high there because your landing spot all of a sudden becomes like 2 feet, right? You need to have it on just a very simple plane where it's like your ground is your friend. So even on this one here, it'd be a good example, give me the 56, where if I was to take a swing here and I was to kind of feel like I'm going to like loft this up in the air, I could hit it short, I could hit it long, I could hit it like down to the right or left. Like there's so many things that can happen. If I was to play this and we're very much like trying to make a 4 here, it's a very neutral stance. My hands are forward. It's a small stroke and I'm going to use the ground. I'm just going to chip it on and it's going to run up to the pin. Since it's an uphill, gravity's pulling it back. So I can use that. So I can be a little more aggressive because I know that's not going to run 10 feet by the hole. I'm most likely to leave this short. So I can actually feel that little bit of an aggressive kind of pop through the bottom of the ball. And you'll see it get on and then scoot all the way up to the flag. Cool, right?
Yeah.
So it, depending on what, if I'm in the back bunker there, well, I can't do that. I have to hit a higher lofted one up in the air. But since I left myself, same with you, in a perfect opportunity, that's what this course is all about.
I'm sorry, you two putted for bogey. I made my par from 8 feet.
You made your par, so you finished at 20, you shot 61 on the
61
back
on the
nine,
back?
and I was 59.
So I went what? Bogey. They gave me a 2-putt on number 16?
They did.
They gave me a 3-putt on 16. I was like 17 feet for birdie.
Auto putting, man. Auto putt. I told you we should have put aimed on. Yeah.
All right, well, Neil, thanks so much for walking me through this,
Yep.
telling us about the course, and I hope people picked up some tips along the way. If you guys like this one, I'm going to get back to the show here in a second after the ad break, but this is something that we can do when we have courses that we can come and play through those major stretches, and maybe, I mean, there's no Augusta, unfortunately.
No, that would be, if that ever gets released, though, you guarantee there's a video coming out.
All right, Neil, where can people find you?
On my website at neilryangolf.com. You can actually send me an email regarding anything. I do, of course, in-person lessons here in Halifax at our 2 7-iron locations in Timberley and Hammonds Plains. But if you're not from the area, I work online with guys all the time using an app called Coach Now. We just communicate through it. You can send me videos. I can send you videos, and it's very simple. Just kind of sign up, and you can do it for as long as you like. I have guys that do it all season, and we just share videos every few weeks. And I've got guys who just want their blueprints. Hey, coach, give me a 5-step way to just, what should my drills be when you send me a face-on video and a down-the-line video, and I build you a little program, and then we send it out. And the idea is for you to have something real to practice, not just going through the internet trying to focus on how to fix my slice 7 different ways. You have 3 select drills that you keep working and working and working like I do with you, and then over time you start to see the consistency arise. But it's not just something where it's like, hey, do this 2 things and you're good.
Yeah, line up this way, come through this way, slice, fix.
No, it's not exactly that easy, but if you guys want to work, let me know. Hit me up online, send me an email, and I have a lot of fun helping guys like that get a lot better at this game.
Okay, let's jump over to fantasynational.com. Fantasynational.com/Mayo right now gets you 20% off all membership levels. You get the very nice leaderboard, the best leaderboard app there. If you're not using the leaderboard app from Fantasy National, like, you hate golf, is essentially what you're saying. Even if you don't use anything else on Fantasy National, the app is well worth it because the PGA Tour app is so brutal, and this one is awesome. If you just hit up my Twitter at the PME, you will find it up there in the screenshots of it and what it does. It's amazing, and it's usually ahead of the broadcast. If you're serious about sweating lineups, sweating bets, whatever it is, go get that. But if you get the monthly plan right now at Fantasy National using /Mayo at the end, you get 20% off the monthly. It'll take you Valspar through the Heritage, so you get the Masters in there too. It's basically a free tournament. You get 6 tournaments for the price of 5 because of the way the schedule bends right now. So fantasynational.com/Mayo. The modeling, as I have pulled it out, you can see new for 2024. I redid it a little bit. Again, flat across the board in terms of tee to green is really where I want to find. I've weighted tee to green at 11%. I'm actually bumping that up a little bit more and bumping down the approach numbers. Now, approach is still going to be 19%. Par 3s, 200 to 225 yards. 13%, par 5s, 5%, strokes gained short game. So putting and chipping together, we're going to actually have more chipping in the model than we normally do. So that's weighted at 7%, not a lot. Good drives gained at 15, opportunities gained at 15, because you still do need to make birdies. The long par 4s, 450 to 500 yards, 10%, tee to green overall, 15%, and then putting 10 to 15, 5 to 10, 5%, and 6%. We will run this through the ringer here and see what comes up over the past 24 rounds. Oh, good. Andrew Putnam is the best player in the field. Great. Good to know. Good stats, Pat. Well, he's been playing the Cognizant, Mexico, Wampo, Amex. I mean, he's been playing jabroni tournaments, and he's been doing pretty well. I saw him chip in at the Players. I don't think he made the cut because he was in my lineups, and I should have known that when I was the moment I started feeling good about the Players and I was winning like $27,000 after day 1 on DraftKings, that things would go so poorly for me. I mean, it's on Saturday. Maybe that all turns around for me on Sunday. Who knows? But it's not looking good right now. Michael Kim is number 2. This will be the 8th consecutive week that Michael Kim has played. Obviously, he missed that short 5-footer on number 17 coming home on Friday to miss the cut on the number, but he did rally back very nicely after a poor opening day in the AM on Thursday at Sawgrass. I spoke with him over the weekend, and he's all fired up to play this. There's only so many more chances that he can get to get himself into the Masters. He's currently number 52 in the world. He needs to be inside the top 50 the week before the Masters starts. If he can do that, then all of a sudden he's going to be looking pretty good. So I think that he's just going to continue to grind. And actually, he's second tee to green right now, as you can see over the past 24 rounds. There's a few that I've circled for him that I think that he has a really good chance of winning. This would be one of them. I wish the field wasn't as strong as it was, but it means we also might get a really good number on him as well. So Putnam, Michael Kim, Straka, Nikolai Højgaard, Xander, who just looks lost, at least the Players, did make the cut though, is number 5. Fleetwood. If there was a spot where I would ever pick Fleetwood to win on tour, it would be here. It fits every part of his game. You know how well he plays at U.S. Opens historically anyway, scrambling such a good part of his game. You can get a massive amount of wind here as well, and you know how he can flight the ball. So great. Maybe he ends up winning the Players. I'm not from the future. I do not know the results of what's going on, but this does seem like a really good course for a guy who's so good, especially at total driving. You can see in the field right now, he's number 2 in good drives gained. It's not like he's the most accurate guy on the circuit, so he's just hitting so many greens in regulation. Overall, the ball striking has been immaculate, as you can see, and he's currently, as I speak, having a very good week at the Players as it is. He has 3 appearances at the Valspar. He's finished 7th, 3rd, and 16th. Tommy hasn't taken my money in a while, but Tommy might be taking my money this week. And you know what? I'll donate to the cause. Everyone else gets to make their annual weekly donations to Tommy Fleetwood. It's about time that, I ponied up a little bit. Other than him, you got Kitayama, Power, Neil Shipley's in at number 9. He hasn't played in a bit. Lowry's at number 10. Berger WD'd from the field, as I mentioned. After that, it's Glover, the Gim Reaper, Kevin Roy, Joel Damon, Thomas Clanton, who I guess is a pro now. I don't know whether or not he's actually declared pro status, but he did earn his tour card. I know that if he, as you will find out in the newsletter that I sent out about the guys that are in the majors, Clanton only retains his spot in some of the majors if he ends up retaining his amateur status. If he turns pro, he loses some of his auto qualifications into the U.S. Open and I believe the PGA Championship. I don't believe he was in the Masters anyway. Rio, Hovland's trying to figure out whatever the hell's going on with his game. Ben Martin, Ben Griffin, Jake Knapp, and Gary Woodland. Willie Z is just below him as well. Willie Z looking really good at the players coming in. I do have another model that I ran through. It's called the Valspar Simple. And what it has in it is 5% for fairways gained, 30% good drives, 20% around the green, 25% opportunities gained. So it's guys that are going to fire at pins, and if they miss, they're going to be able to scramble themselves out of problems and reasonably good at long iron. So I'm guessing this is going to be all Andrew Putnam all the time because he already... Oh, Daniel Berger would have been number 1, but now he's not in the field. Okay, so this one, Putnam drops number 4. So Berger's out, so he's not number 1. So it's Straka, Fleetwood, Putnam, Thomas, Michael Kim. So Michael Kim, top 5 in both the models coming in. Damon, Power, Bramlett, Rico Hoey. I mean, I worry about his bogey avoidance because it's not very good whenever I bet him. Gary Woodland, Taylor Moore, who does have a win at this course. Highsmith, Poston turning in a pretty good Players' Championship after a rough day 1, really rallied, and then was at least doing really well throughout the course of Saturday when I was watching, at least at the time I was watching to come in here. Ben Griffin, Chuck Hoffman, Bryce Garnett, Kevin Roy, Nikolai Højgaard, Lucas Glover, Xander. There's like Ricky Castillo, Stephen Fisk. Stephen Fisk cannot putt. It is unreal how bad he is at putting after watching him in Puerto Rico. I feel like I'm going to lose a lot of money on Stephen Fisk when it comes down to it because I mean, man, this guy hits it to 4 feet every time. Oh, he tends to 3-putt from 4 feet every time. That's the Stephen Fisk experience as we go through it. Jump over to the tournament history just so I can run you through some of the past winners. Obviously, last year was so weird when Malnati ended up winning, kind of out of nowhere, but it wasn't completely out of nowhere when you take a look at how he actually got it done. You can see he won, and in the run-up to it, he was 68th at the Players. He made the cut. He was 9th at the Cognizant. He was top 14 at a signature. He was 14th at a signature event at Pebble Beach before that as well. Missed the cut in Phoenix, but it's not like he was an abject failure coming in. He did have a bit of form in it, and I always like to take a look at Sanderson Farms for this. Is the one thing I always tend to overlook. So Sanderson Farms, you can see Malnati's he's won the Sanderson Farms, had a second place at the Sanderson Farms. When we take a look at Sam Burns, who won in 2021 and 2022, both at minus 17. You might recall that he, too, is a winner of the Sanderson Farms. I believe, yes, a first and a third over the course of his career at that course. Paul Casey had won in consecutive years. You also have the Taylor Moore in 2023 when he just gained the most strokes ever putting. Actually, I think this was the Sam Ryder year. Sam Ryder, weirdly enough, maybe you could actually back him this week, depending on what his odds are. Taylor Moore's actually playing some pretty decent golf outside of approach play, but his scrambling, his putting, and his driving are all top-notch at the moment. You can see the 2 top 10 so far this year. Wouldn't overlook Taylor Moore this week or next week at the Houston. I actually backed him last year at Houston. I can't remember if he was 2nd or 4th, but he was right there and just came up a bit short in the water. And he did it that year with losing a bunch of strokes on approach. But the year that he won this event, I think that Sam Ryder, he gained 5 strokes putting. I think Sam Ryder gained 12 strokes putting or something utterly ridiculous. Let's see. Select view, strokes gained overall, putting. Yeah, there it is. 8.1 strokes gained putting for Sam Ryder. But here's the funny part. He only came 19th and gained that many strokes. When you take a look at his best putting performances of his career, 2 of the 3 are at Valspar. In 2024, a year ago, he came 33rd and gained 10.6 strokes putting. That is outrageous. And you can take a look at him at the next 2 weeks as well, both in Houston and at Valspar. You can see at the Old Shell in Houston, in Texas, gained 9. At Valero 2 years ago, he gained 7.5. So he actually has had some good splits putting-wise and spike performances on the greens in Texas over the years. So those were a few of the different names. Overall, the best players at the course over the past 5 years: Burns, JT, Tommy, Lucas Glover, and Davis Riley are inside your top 5. Davis Riley lost in a playoff to Sam Burns in 2022, and been, again, another guy who won in Texas a year ago at Colonial. So maybe there is something to look into there, but I do think that the Sanderson Farms is probably the biggest one that you do want to look into. So maybe we can take a look at that right now and see if we can find Jackson of CC. Who plays well at Jackson of CC? We go to the courses. We'll find Jackson, CC of Jackson. Sorry, I got that wrong. And I'll just switch this back over after that loads to the overall strokes gained model, just so we can see, like, on average, who's been doing pretty well, or has some spike rounds at the CC of Jackson. And obviously this isn't going to affect Justin Thomas or Xander Schauffele because they don't have to play in that Goober tournament. I'm more or less talking about players from the back end of the field. If Akshay ends up winning the Players, he's probably not going to play at the Valspar. I'm just throwing that out right now. So the best players for CC of Jackson, you have Cam Young, who was runner-up to Peter Malnati a year ago. Xander and Justin Thomas in their 4 rounds ever at that course, probably from ages ago, are 1, 2, 3 in strokes gained total per round. But if we take a look back, guys with at least more than one time playing through, you can see Dietrich played well there. Bridgman played really well there this year. Bridgman having another decent week at the Players. Ryan Fox having a pretty good week at the Players as well. Bridgman coming off of the second place at Cognizant and then the top 15 finish at API, running another good one through at the Players Championships, and maybe it's time for him to break through. Who knows? He's another one who can kind of do it. Well, if we just kind of take a look at his stat profile overall and see what he does well, the driving has been a lot better than it normally has, but you can see he can put the lights out when he's on. The around the green has been very solid, and the approaches come and go, but normally better than worse. So good irons, good scrambling, good putting, and getting better off the tee could be the perfect recipe for a course like this. You just want guys that fill up as much green as possible. They don't need to be the darkest of green. They need to be the best of players, but that's just something that I would keep on my radar. Mac Hughes rates out really well because he plays Sanderson every year. I think he won. I know he won the RSM. No, it was Nick Taylor, I think, that won at Sanderson's. Let's see. No. So here we are. So we got Mackenzie Hughes was a winner at Sanderson Farms 2 years ago, and he was 8th this year at Sanderson Farms. He is a player that I believe was 3rd place at the Valspar last year. So again, what do you think about when you think of Mackenzie Hughes? Harder type players, Sammy Valimaki. You don't want to look up Sammy Valimaki. Mac Hughes was 8th at CC of Jackson this year, but if we go to him overall, dig into how he has done at the Valspar over the years. You can see he was 3rd a year ago. He was 13th before. Like, you're going to be hit or miss, but it's a similar type of profiles who seem to do a little bit better work. So let's take a look at just the leaderboards from Sanderson Farms the last 3 years. Just try to get a sense of who's played some good golf over there. Maybe we can find someone a bit more under the radar than we were looking for. Kevin Yu was a winner, and it's funny because minus 23 is the score. You wouldn't think it matches up all that much. I mean, Keith Mitchell had this tournament won at the Valspar a year ago, melted in the final round. He had this year's Sanderson Farms one, and then he melted on coming down the stretch on Sunday too. So he starts sniffing the lead. It doesn't turn out to be all that good. Hayden Springer playing some better golf. There's Bridgman, who I mentioned, Fox and Seamus Power. Both. Griot having a pretty good week at the Players Championship. Bud Colley was 5th at Sanderson Farms. Bud Colley, I don't know how he's going to finish at Sawgrass, but is having a really good week. He could have another really good week here. Alex Smalley is another one. The Glove. I can't remember if the Glove is in the field or not. Is he playing this week? The Glove. Yes, he is playing. He rates out 2nd in the CC of Jackson model, if that's what you're looking at. If we just take the overall strokes gained from here, it's Norlander, Glover, Connors, Burns, Hughes, Hardy, List, Griot, Hoffman. That's interesting. Never great around the green, though. It's the one thing you have to worry about with him. Jaeger could be a good. I didn't think that the Players would be a good Jaeger course, but he's playing pretty well. This and next week, where he's defending his title in Houston, are both pretty good courses for him. Alex Smalley, you always worry that whenever he gets into contention that he'll putt himself out of it. But if we just use the numbers of CC of Jackson, these are the guys that stand out. So that's mainly who it is from this year. You got Matty Schmidt, Eric Cole, Sned was all right, Novak. Maybe Novak ends up becoming a look. He's kind of hit the skids lately after he started becoming a pretty popular bet. But yeah, the approach play has just been god-awful since they got to Florida. The year before that, Luke List was your winner at CC of Jackson at the Sanderson Farms. Norlander, Stallings, Ludwig came in 2nd. Oh, Crazy Carl won. You got Ben Griffin. Maybe this could be the breakout spot for Ben Griffin. We see CT Pan's name jump up a few times now, looking through these crossover leaderboards. There's Damon coming in with some excellent ball striking. We'll see if his short game can actually get it done for him. From the back end of this field, the year before that was Hughes. Okay, there's Straka. So Straka has a second place finish. Straka, obviously a big bet for me this week. We'll see how he does. Griot continues to pop up. Hubbard once again. Keegan Bradley, we should point out that Valspar in Copperhead is the site of where we coined going full Keegan. He was the first round leader. I believe he shot a 67 in the first round, followed it up with a 78, and ended up missing the cut. But he's had some good runs at Valspar over the years, and clearly he did one of the few times that he played at Sanderson Farms 2 years ago as well. Thomas Dietrich is up there. There's Damon again. Nick Hardy once again. So just similar names tend to cross over. Nick Taylor. I don't believe Nick Taylor is playing at the Valspar. Let's see. If I type in Valspar, then that would be no, he is not. But Taylor Moore is from that example. So that was one of the crossovers that I wanted to look at. So a good early look at the field, some of the players that you need to target. So it's probably time to guess the odds for the Valspar Championship. I actually haven't had to guess the odds in a while for a lot of these tournaments, but I'm going to give it my best shot. This one has a lot of room for fudging on either end. There could be a name or two that falls way down the board or jumps way up, depending on what the results are. Like Akshay could be 20-1, he could be 50-1, depending on how he ends up doing. Zalatoris could end up being 13-1. He could end up being 35-1, depending on how it is. But here's the guess right now. I got Xander as the betting favorite, playing the third week in a row, returning from his rib injury. He is 10-1. After that, I got Justin Thomas at 12-1. Those are going to be the top two. After them, a little mini tier of Fleetwood at 16, Lowry at 20, and Straka at number 22. 22-1 on the betting board. Sam Burns I have coming in at 6th at 25, tied with Corey Connors, tied with Will Zalatoris. I think all three of those guys will be 25 or 28-1. Just outside of 30, I have Jordan Spieth, Adam Scott, Billy Horschel, and Victor Hovland and Sahith Theegala. Those guys will be between 30 and 40. Hopefully you can try to catch a 45 or 50 at a soft number at open if that's how the books want to open it. But that is what I am seeing for the Valspar Championship. Go to Underdog, use code Mayo, and play in the major season best ball drafts. And don't forget to go to fantasynational.com/Mayo and get yourself that monthly, get 20% off, and get everything through the Heritage, because then we go into golf limbo for like 2 weeks before we come back strong with some great tournaments, including the second major of the year. We got the Masters included in that if you do it. And don't forget to give me the winner in the comment section after you sub and smash like to this show, because that will get you into a draw for $500. Winner being given away on Monday, live 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Mayo Media Network Sunday evening. I got the March Madness bracket picks. It's a fun show. I hope you check it out. All right, I'm Pat Mayo. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
Mayo experience! Experience!